Hello there, I'm the Commonsense guy, and as you can probably hear at this moment in time, I'm not feeling very well at the minute. But this is a video that I wanted to get out to the fact that things like this are still happening. People are still peddling these weird and wonderful feminism myths, and I just thought it'd be interesting to actually do this video, see if I can get some dialogue actually going from it, actually, to be honest. See if we can actually have a talk, a nice discussion. I don't want to pwn the person or destroy them or whatever the generalizations are nowadays. I just want to show the fact that some of the stuff that she says is completely out of ball. Some of the stuff that she says, it might be correct. I don't know. But that's the point that I wanted to make in this video. Getting into the actual video itself, I'm going to make sure that I don't show my face at this moment in time, because as you can see, I really don't feel well at this moment in time, thank you. So, without further ado, let's get into the video, shall we?
This is me mentally preparing myself for some of the ridiculous comments I'm going to receive on this video.
There might be a reason for that. There just might be a slight little bit of a reason. We'll get into the reason very soon, won't we?
Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chloe.
Hi Chloe, I'm the Commonsense guy. Nice to meet you. Let's get on with this, shall we?
Today I have got for you another Tea Talks video.
Yay! Oh yay, the joy. Let's get on with it then.
But today I wanted to talk to you guys about feminism and why I consider myself to be a feminist, what being a feminist means to me, and why I think we still need feminism, because some people seem to think that we don't need feminism anymore because, you know, women have got the vote. What more could we want?
There's a reason why people say that we don't need feminism anymore, and that is, Chloe, that though you say, oh yeah, you got the vote, what more do you want? It is a case of you don't just have the vote, you have equal rights. There is the Discrimination Act, there is the Equalities Act. All these acts that are in the law stipulate that nobody can be treated unfairly due to any part of their skin pigmentation or their gender expression. That's put down into law. So before we go any further, please tell me one law that I possess or affects me less than what it does to you, or better yet, a right that you have that I don't.
Statistically, there are higher rates of poverty among ethnic minority groups, particularly here in the UK. And children of minority women are also more likely to be born into poverty and stay in poverty. Research also shows that women from ethnic minority backgrounds are less likely to receive offers to study at university, which could also be a contributing factor in why people stay poor, because they are unable to get a better education that might enable them to get out of poverty.
I've got a quick question for you on the statistics that you've done research on, apparently. Can you tell me, with the ethnic minority women that have had children, can you tell me how many of them are single parents? Because that obviously increases the likelihood of poverty. It also increases the likelihood of their children going into prison. It also increases the likelihood of them not getting out of poverty because they're a single parent household. Now, that's not a cop-out for anything, but it's just to try and provide you with a different outlook on the sources that you're using. Social scientists like to try and pick and choose what the actual correlation actually is, rather than actually trying to look at the causation. If you have two people in a household, you have at least one solid income coming in, giving the male or female, the mother or father, a chance to be able to either go off to work or to study or to look after the children properly. It's common sense, isn't it, Chloe? And as the last bit, as I literally have just said, it also counters into your point that you said about universities, about people not going to be able to go to university. If they've already got children and they're single parent mums, then they can't already do that. And also as well, if they are in families, they're going to look after the children more than they would do, even if they were in a two-parent household. So, with that being said, Please try and direct me to any citations that you will use for that point. I will also link mine in the description box below.
For example, child marriages and FGM. Thankfully, neither of those are issues that have affected me or will ever affect me. And it's probably quite unlikely I'll ever come into contact with anyone that it affects.
Right, so this is from The Independent in 2017. Okay? Just I wanted to see if I could show you the date, but there we go. There you go. The 6th of February 2017, right? So last year. Figures released as World Markers International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. It is estimated, as in the title, though it may be sensationalized, one female genital mutilation case reported every hour in the UK. So, let's have a look at that, shall we? So between April 2015 and March 2016, there were 8,656 times when women or girls attending doctor surgeries or hospitals, and the problem was assessed the equivalent of 1 every 61 minutes for female genital mutilation. Among those who attended, a female genital mutilation is normally recorded every 92 minutes on average. And that's an average. This means a woman or girl has their case recorded by the NHS for the first time, although in many cases they have been cut some years before, but it has not come to the attention of doctors sooner. That's interesting. Now let's move on to child marriages, shall we? So now that we've moved on to child marriages, which I probably should have done first as this was the first time you mentioned it, but child marriage around the world. But we're going to do this bit, which is from the first part, which, although it is most prevalent in the developing world, child marriage also happens in the United Kingdom. The Home Office estimates that between 5,000 and 8,000 people are at risk of being forced into marriage every year in the UK. In 2016, the UK Forced Marriages Unit's helpline dealt with 1,428 cases of forced marriages. 15% involved children aged 16 and under, and 11% involved 16 to 17-year-olds. Interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. Trying to say that it obviously doesn't happen in the UK and you're not going to meet anybody, when in actual fact you are probably most likely going to meet somebody in particular sets of communities that probably have been forced into marriage. But hey, it doesn't affect you, right?
But these are issues that affect women, and therefore to me as a feminist they are still important even though they don't directly impact upon me. I'm aware that there's not a lot I can do, but the little things that I can do, I will do. Whether that be by signing petitions, donating to charities that support these causes and address these issues, or just raising awareness of them on social media.
But yet, can't be bothered to do a quick Google search to have a look at these little problems like I just did. Google them, find out that they're actually a lot more prevalent than what you might actually think, and won't even give them awareness. Because you wouldn't even search for the actual statistics. You just said, I'm not likely to experience it, or know anybody who has experienced it. Well done there on your social virtue signalling. You've done well.
There's this idea that we don't need feminism anymore because women are allowed to vote, we can drive cars, we go to university, we're allowed to work. I mean, what more could we complain about, right? And obviously now the only reason that feminism exists is because women hate men and we want special treatment to make us better than men. As I've said, I obviously do not speak for every woman on this planet, but for me, that is not feminism.
So, what is feminism to you then? Don't give me that diatribe about, oh, it's about equality and everything else like that, because you just literally have just stated the equality part of feminism. You're able to work, you're getting paid the same, you're able to get this, you're able to get that. But I suppose the wage gap is going to come up. I suppose other bits and pieces are going to come up. I suppose I should have just waited, shouldn't I? Because you're going to give the same reasons of how equality is still not here, even though it already is, because by law it is. You know, Equalities Act, Diversity Act, you know, them type of things.
I personally feel like this concept of feminism has been hijacked by extremists. And I feel like, you know, some people might feel like calling them extremists is a bit, well, extreme, but they are extremists in the sense that they have taken a belief and gone so much further with it than most other people. They are people that do not actually believe in the core principles of the movement. They just use it as a shroud to push their own agenda. And feminism isn't the only movement that you see this in. I mean, Islam is the first example that comes to my head, but again, I assume there are many more. You know, Muslim people will tell you that ISIS do not represent them, and even though they claim to be Muslims, they aren't acting in a way that is in accordance with what Islam teaches. In the same way that most Christians do not think that the Westboro Baptist Church represent their views.
I'm not going to turn this video into an Islam video. I'm not going to delve too far into it, so to speak. But you, in this video, have stated problems that come from Islamic countries, such as child marriages and female genital mutilation, as well as male genital mutilation as well. But yet, you don't think that the teachings of Islam need to be changed. You don't feel that with the problems of ISIS, where they actually quote their Bible verses, their Quranic verses, when they're doing things, to the point where Islam actually means submit. It does not mean peace, as it's supposed to mean. It means submit. But as I said, I'm not going to turn this into an Islam video, but you've just been talking about some issues that come from Islam, yet you don't want to address it for whatever reason. Am I understanding you properly?
For me, a feminist is someone that believes that all humans, no matter what their gender, should have equal political, economical, and social rights.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Didn't you just say this?
Women are allowed to vote, we can drive cars, we go to university, we're allowed to work. I mean, what more could we complain about, right?
Sounds like by your own admission that you have social, political, and economical rights. Interesting that you would say that and contradict yourself in the same video.
I see being a feminist as a person, whatever your gender, that advocates for issues that face women and try to remove barriers that might prevent women from being equal to men. For example, the gender pay gap.
The wage gap is simply the average earnings of men and women working full-time. It does not count for different job positions, hours worked, or different jobs. It has nothing to do with the same job. It has nothing to do with discrimination.
Some people claim that the gender pay gap isn't real. Some people claim that it is. I'm not an economical expert, so I'm going to be totally honest and say I don't know. But my understanding of what is described as the gender pay gap, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure people will. The issue isn't necessarily that a man and a woman in the exact same job with the exact same amount of experience are being paid different amounts, because that would be illegal. You know, discrimination is illegal. So if two people were working on the cash register at Tesco, but one of them was a man and he was being paid £9 an hour and the woman was being paid £8 an hour, that's ridiculous. So my understanding of where the gender pay gap comes from is the fact that there are less women in high-powered and high-earning positions. So I'll use the NHS as an example because I'm training to be a nurse, so I'm working within the NHS, and women make up 77% of the overall NHS workforce. So we are by far in the majority. However, we only account for 37% of all board positions, so senior positions. So it's quite clear that we are very underrepresented in these higher paid, higher powered positions. However, the NHS is actually doing a lot better than most other companies. If you compare that to the FTSE 100, amongst those companies, women only make up 20.7% of board positions.
I'm going to do this as a question rather than just a debunking. I am going to put all of my links in the description box below, which are going to be countless for the wage gap and the debunking of the wage gap. But please have a little read, decide for yourself. But the problem that you're trying to suggest is that 70-something% of women in the NHS don't go on to becoming board members. Do you think that there's a problem with that? Do you think that there's a reason for that? Now, the reason why I ask these two questions is because they have a bearing. Because if you believe that there is a problem with that, then you're trying to say that people are actually systemically pushing you down to not let you happen. Now, that would mean that there would not be a single female member of the board or a single female member at all of the higher-ups of the NHS or whatever, the FTSE 100 or whatever as you just said. Second part, why do you think this happens? Do you think that generally, and this is a generalization, and I'm not saying this is the mean or this is the only outcome, but generally, men generally work harder and have better paying jobs than the woman because generally, women always choose to go up and not down. Now, that's not a play on how women go or anything else of that. It is a known fact. If a woman earns 30 grand a year, why would that woman then go with somebody who is earning 15 grand a year? Now, I am not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm sure it does. But generally, that's what happens. So when the partners decide that they're going to have a kid, if the man is earning more, then that man will stay in work. That's the way it works. It's not that hard to work that out. So let me just clarify my point rather than actually just leaving it as it was. The reason why you don't see so many women in top high-paying jobs is because if you talk to them, they generally have to make a decision. They're either going to have kids and then get straight back into work, or not have kids and then do whatever they want and focus on their career, which is completely, again, up to them. But generally most women, as is their biology, will want to have children. Now again, if you are earning more than the man, you will then stay on at work. That's the way it works. The same as if the man is earning more, generally that's what happens. Then the woman will stay at home, which means that they can't be in statistical data because they're not working. And that's the problem with the wage gap, as you just put it. But please talk to me if you want to. I am more than happy to go through anything with you. This is a question more than a debunking, as I said, though I will put the debunking in the actual description box below. But that is the point. Do you think that women are actually being systemically pushed out? Or do you think it's due to women's choices that this is happening? I would love to see your point on this, please.
However, in the latest article that I could find, which was about a year ago, it's back in 2017, showed that only 1% of fathers had opted to take equal shared paternity leave. So again, I think this needs to be addressed. A lot of the men who responded to the survey said that they wanted to take shared maternity leave. So we need to look at and address the issues that's preventing them from doing this. Because maybe if the time off was split between couples, obviously, only if they choose to do so, then the impact of taking time off work to have children wouldn't fall on women to such a great extent. Men should feel able to take time off work to spend time with their children, because we don't live in the 1950s anymore, and it isn't only a woman that can care for a baby. And if a man wants to take more time off work to be with his family, then he should be able to do that without feeling like he's going to be judged or that it would negatively impact him at work like it does for women.
I have a question, and that question is, do you think that it could be because the woman has decided that she's going to take off the whole year and not let the man have maternity leave, not because she doesn't want the man to spend time with the children or child or whatever, but because the man earns too much money and does not want them to stay at home because they want to stay at home? Now, this is not trying to say that I think this and that and I've got nothing to back it up with. I'm just suggesting that there might be an actual reason rather than just men not wanting to look after children, as you've been trying to insinuate on your video for the last 3 minutes, trying to suggest that it's not the 1950s and that men don't want to look after their children. I can guarantee you that there are men out there that would love nothing more than never to work again and look after the children and the household. There are loads out there that would do that. But as I said, generally, men earn more than the women that they are partnered with, because that's the way it works. It's just funny to me that you think that there is a systemic problem when these problems can be solved by just asking a quick social question. Why do you think this is happening? Well, it could be because women in themselves don't want to go back to work because they want to look after the child or children. I just don't see how you see this as a systemic problem and it's man's fault and whatever. Another thing that you say is, How would it negatively affect the man or the woman by taking maternity leave if it's already supposed to be in workplace? Is it because you're trying to suggest that it's a year off of work and it affects their job prospects? Well, surely it doesn't matter because they'd already be working. Please explain to me what you mean by the judgmental point of taking maternity leave. I don't understand what you mean by that. Because you make a very, very sly comment and then you do not explain it. Like I'm supposed to understand where your worldview comes from by watching one video or it's a couple of videos. So please explain to me how you think discrimination happens from taking maternity leave, because you haven't.
Another place where women are underrepresented is politics. In the UK, we have a total of 650 seats in our House of Commons, our parliament. And currently there are 208 women in parliament. Therefore, women only account for 32% of MPs. And that is a record high. That's the most women we've ever had in the UK parliament, which is amazing. We also have a female prime minister, but she wasn't voted into power, she was kind of given it when the person above her stepped down. So in my opinion, she isn't really a legitimate leader because she didn't win an election, but that's a whole nother issue.
Before I kind of make a funny at Chloe's expense, I just wanted to check to find out when this video was actually posted. I was pretty sure it was posted this year. And lo and behold, just so everybody can see that, published 2018. So with that being said, did you know, Chloe, that Prime Minister Theresa May, though she did first of all come to power because of David Cameron stepping down, she went to have a general election so she could get a higher majority. She lost that majority, but she won the general election as a hung parliament. But she's still in power, meaning that she won the general election, meaning that she is the elected Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. By the way, we've also had a other female politician that was our legitimate leader, and that would have been Margaret Thatcher. We also have a lot of female prominent politicians. The fact that you say, oh, it's at 32% is, yeah, okay, fair enough. It's not 50-50. But again, that also goes into the idea of, can they do it with children? And do they choose to do it when they have children? It's all social points. It's all a point of what does that person want to do, not what you want them to do.
There is, however, a pretty big gap between our two parties. So in the UK, we have two main parties, which is Labour and Conservatives. In the Labour Party, 45% of their MPs are women, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't expect it to be 50-50, but that's pretty blooming close, so I'm impressed. But for the Conservatives, it's only 21%. And I mean, if you know British politics, it's hardly surprising, but it still shows that we've got a way to go, particularly amongst the more conservative part of our country.
Links in the description box below. Labour and Lib Dems, since around 1995, have actually implemented and had the ideas of using women-only shortlists in particular constituencies. This is the reason why they were able to produce so many MPs, because they were actually discriminating against men, to the point that in 1997/1998, men that were trying to apply for the Labour Party actually sued the Labour Party to make sure that they could actually get into the Labour Party, because they were actually being discriminated against. That is obviously on Wikipedia, and yes, I know Wikipedia is not an amazing source, but for this instance you can have a look at all the sources at the bottom of that page, which is obviously in the description box below, and it will tell you this. This has been mandated, this has been forced upon the party, this is what you call positive discrimination. But it's still discrimination, and it's discrimination against men. You know, the whole ideology that you're trying to say that you don't want to perpetuate, seems that other people are perpetuating it for you, and you're supporting it.
I am not proposing that women go around having abortions willy-nilly, because it is not a method of contraception and should not be used as one. But I am a firm believer in choice, and to me, that's what being a feminist is. It's about empowering women and giving them a choice.
Does that baby, does that fetus as you would call it, does that have a choice to be able to live? Does they have a choice to be able to carry on through life and actually, have life?
Just like a man can choose to walk away from a child that he's fathered. Now, I am well aware that there are a lot of incredible men out there who are fantastic dads. Mine included. My dad is amazing. But I know a lot of women are raising children by themselves right now with little to no support from the dad because they've unfortunately made that choice not to be in their child's life. And men should be angry at these men too because they are giving you a bad name. This is one of my big bugbears with people online. Don't be angry at the woman that is speaking up against the deadbeat father to her child or the man who raped her or assaulted her. Be angry at the man who has created that situation because that's where this rhetoric of men are useless and men are arseholes, that's where it comes from. So if you as men speak up and go, whoa, 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 it's not because he's a man, it's because he's an arsehole, just like women can be arseholes, then we wouldn't have this rhetoric.
So, let's have a quick look at this little claim that you're trying to talk about, shall we? You have, or rather should I say I have, just typed into Google, are single mothers single by choice? Which obviously, as Google just realised for me, is, are single mothers single by choice? Now, this is just a quick Google search, just a quick one, as you can see. Loads of different ones. Why I'm thinking... We get the tired single mother stereotype. Oh, how the new rise. Should I have a baby on my own? Single mothers by choice. What's it like to be a single mother by choice? And all that sort of stuff, right? There is even a charity that has been set up that is for single mothers by choice. So let's have a quick look at it, shall we? So, SMC, Single Mothers by Choice. Welcome to Single Mothers by Choice. Single Mothers by Choice, SMC, was founded in 1981, so it's been around for a very long time, by Jane Matters, or Matz, I can't pronounce her last name, I'm sorry. LCSW, a psychiatrist, or psychotherapist, and a single mother by choice. Over 30,000 thinkers, triers, and mothers have enjoyed the benefits and membership since we began. A single mother by choice is a single woman who decides to become a mother knowing, at least at the outset, that she will be the sole parent of her child. Our primary purpose is to provide strong peer support and information to women who are considering or have chosen single motherhood by choice. Going back, you can see that there's a couple of other bits along here. I'm a single woman by choice. Single mothers by choice. I'm a single woman by choice. One parent can be better than two. And this is done by the Washington Post, trying to say that a single mother or a single parent can be better than two set parents. This is the ideology that you are trying to perpetuate. Now, you're trying to say that men are leaving the family, so to speak. Have you ever thought there might be women kicking them out so they get some sort of form of benefit? I don't know. Maybe that's a possibility. But apart from that, have you ever heard of a charity called Fathers for Justice? You know, the people that dress around as superheroes that try to be able to get contact with their children because the mothers don't want them to for no particular reason, that they have full custody and they can say if the dad comes to see him or not. That's an interesting point, isn't it? Maybe you should do some more research before you make some anecdotal claims and actually research what you're trying to say, rather than just blaming men. That's another thing as well that you say about, oh, all men should be annoyed. Yes, all men are annoyed that this type of stuff happens. It's why we fight against feminism so hardly. Because it is not true that most men will leave the family. Yes, I know there are statistics where there are some men that will leave. I am not saying that men don't leave. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that you're disproportionately saying that mothers are doing it by themselves because the dads are leaving. That's not true. The fact is that a lot of single mothers do it by choice. So I really want you to have a look, do some actual research on the points that you're actually trying to say, and then we can actually have a fucking conversation.
For example, issues such as abstinence-only education is a direct result of religion and the influence that that religion has on politics. Here in the UK, we have fully comprehensive sex education, and as a result of that, we have a lower teenage pregnancy rate and a lower abortion rate than US states which teach abstinence-only education.
While I'll agree with you in principle that the US does have a very, very high rate, we're still 4th in the world, and this is from 2008-2009. We're 4th in the world. That doesn't mean that we're doing very, very well, does it? Now, I've got another statistics that we're going to show that's a lot newer, though it does only provide for the European side. But I just wanted to show you the numbers and show you how good we are compared to the rest of Europe. This is from the Daily Mail. I will link the article in the description box down below. But if you just have a look at the actual table, you've got Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, then the UK. That's how good we are compared to the rest of the European Union. Our sexual education, so to speak, is so good that places like Latvia, Hungary, Estonia, Lithuania, other places of that ilk are doing better than what we are. That's worrying. So going down to just read this little bit of the article, according to the study into how European countries compare, the UK birth rate among women aged 15 to 19 higher than the average across the whole of the 28 countries in the European Union. Now think about that for a second. That's the highest average. That means by and large we are the worst for pregnancies between 15 and 19. That's a worrying statistic. And you want to sit there and say that we're some of the best in the world? And if you're not saying that, okay, yes, we're comparing ourselves to a massive country that is the United States of America. You're trying to say that the causation is something to do with abstinence. I'm trying to say that maybe it might do with the sheer volume of numbers that might actually be a problem at this moment in time. But for every 1,000 women in the age bracket in the UK, there were 19.7 births compared to only 12.6 births across the EU. That's very bad. The UK figure is significantly higher than any other major European countries like Germany 8 births per 1,000, France 10.7 and Spain 9.1. But yeah, we're really good at teaching sexual education, aren't we? Right, well, I'm done with this video. I mean, there are a couple of other bits and pieces of this video that I would like to have done, but time really is creeping up on me now. So is my little illness and coughing and spluttering everywhere. So we're doing good. So I think I've done enough for today. What I'm going to say though is Chloe, obviously the person who did the original video, which I will be obviously sending it to you on Twitter and on the YouTube channel that you have on the video that you did. I'm hoping that we could actually get together and actually have a talk and actually decide and decipher where these problems actually come from, what you think can be done, why you think the way that you do, why I think the way that I do as well, because I'm not saying that I'm right all the way through. I'm not saying that either. But I would like to see from your point of view where your ideology stem from, and I'm sure that it would be interesting to see where mine would be coming from as well. So if you would like to do that, I do invite you to come onto my channel and we can have a talk about it. Or if you want to, I'm more than happy to come onto yours. It's whatever makes you feel safer and better. But getting on to the actual video, I have to say, everybody, thank you very much for taking the time to actually watch this with me. I know that we've been through these type of videos many times before. It's just the fact that these myths that still get perpetuated out there are still being talked about. They just get changed. It's still the same thing. I was reading an article recently, which I won't be linking in the description because it's the closing statement, where MPs were talking about the fact that even though the salaries are capped at the same, but because some male MPs earn more because they go off and do different jobs separate to their MPs, that there is now a wage gap between the males and females there. And I was thinking to myself, that's not a wage gap, it's an earnings gap. There is a difference, but there is so many people that just fall for that narrative that gets pushed. So you realise that, okay, well, men are still doing the same amount of work, they're just going off and they're doing another job or a speaking arrangement or whatever, and the women haven't. That's a difference in earnings, not a difference in wage. As you said at the beginning of this video, Chloe, it is illegal and it has a Discrimination Act and an Equalities Act that prohibits that from happening. And one of the things that I would like to say is, if women were getting paid less, why in the hell in a capitalist society would bankers and things like that not take on more women? You know, because they're cheaper apparently. Why wouldn't they do that? Anyway, leaving with that final note, because otherwise we'll be getting into a longer diatribe and there's no need for that. The video's long enough. I would like to say thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and to this channel if you think I did well enough this time. Apart from that, I bid you farewell. I bid you adieu. Take care. And I'll see you all again real soon. Bye bye for now.